How many of you enjoy kicking back after a long day's work with a nice cold beer? Have you ever wondered how it was made? Well, today I'm going to show you how to make a nice, easy homemade beer. I've always been intrigued with the taste of different craft beers, but I hated paying the high prices for a six-pack. So I started doing some research on the internet and found that for a low cost, I could make my own beer and enjoy it as well. And I spent a lot of time talking with different brewmasters and other people that make homemade beer online, and I've been doing it for over 5 years now. The bottom line is, home brewing is a simple hobby that you can do and then enjoy the final product. In order for one to start this new hobby, we first need to learn about the equipment and the ingredients, and then the boiling process and the fermentation phase. As with any project, you must have the proper ingredients and equipment. So the first thing you're going to want is a large metal pot, preferably something that holds 4 gallons or so. Second, you're going to want a large metal spoon, and you want to keep it all metal. Don't try to use wood because it'll react with your beer. You're going to want to have a large fermentation bucket, something large enough to hold at least 5 gallons. You're going to want to have a lid, and as well as you're going to want to have an airlock to keep anything from getting back into your beer. For your ingredients, what you're going to have is a malt, which is barley, and this one was in a liquid form. You're going to have your hops, and these are a Fugel hop. You're going to want to have yeast, and the most important thing you could ever have is a good sanitizer. And the sanitizer, according to the Home Brewers Association, prevents any bacteria from getting into or affecting your beer, which would cause it to go bad, and none of us want a bad beer. So brewing beer involves only a few little steps. You're going to boil water, malt, hops, and create a wort, and that's what we call a unfermented beer. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your big bucket and you're going to want to fill it with about 5 gallons or 2 to 3 gallons of water and get it to boil. And once you have that boiling, you're going to want to add your malt and stir that in as it's coming to a boil, and you're going to keep that going for a boil. Don't worry, you're going to have a foam start to create on there. Keep stirring. That foam is the proteins of the malt starting to coagulate. And according to John Palmer, a local brewmaster, the proteins that are foaming will cause a nice boil over, and trust me, malt is a very sugary, sticky mess when it boils over. So keep stirring. As those proteins coagulate and get a little heavier, they're going to sink to the bottom, and then you'll be past that phase. So once you have that all to a nice good boil, you're going to add your hops. Now the hops come with different scheduled times of adding. The first one is typically your bittering hop, which takes away some of that sweetness from the malt. Any other hops you add will be to give it aroma and flavor and a good character that you taste at the end of your beer. Once you have this done, you've created a wort, which is nothing more than a big sugary bowl of water and thickness for the yeast to eat. So you're going to turn your heat off, and you're going to take this bucket and you need to chill it. And the reason why you need to chill is because yeast has specific temperature ranges that it actually works in. And if it's too hot or too cold, you're either going to kill your yeast or you're going to have yeast that don't activate. So chilling it to a touch where you put your hand on the side and it's not hot anymore is perfect. The easiest way to do that is to sit this into an ice water bath and just keep checking it, occasionally stir it, change out your water as you need to keep it cool. Once your wort is cooled, you're going to just put about 2 gallons into your fermenting bucket. of cool water, and you're going to dump your beer, your wort, into this bucket. Then you add another little bit of water until you get up to about 5 gallons. Any good water is fine to use. I prefer using tap water. If you have bad tap water, you may want to look at using sterile water or a distilled water. The next step you're going to do is you're going to put the lid on top of your bucket, and you're going to shake this bucket gently. Just kind of rock it back and forth and aerate it so that the yeast has a little more oxygen to work with. You're going to take your lid back off, and you're going to dump your yeast in. You can just pour it on the top and let it sit. It'll work its way through the sugar wort as it goes down. Once you get your lid back on, go ahead and put an airlock in there with a little bit of water. This keeps more of that bacteria from getting back into your beer, which you definitely don't want. Now that your yeast is there, tuck it away in a nice dark cool place. Basements work great. If you don't have a basement, you can always put it in a closet, but you don't want to touch it again. Just let it sit for the next couple weeks. 2 weeks is about the standard. What you'll notice is you're going to want to look, and you're going to see your airlock's going to bubble. And this one, I can get the bubble if I give a little push on the lid. This one's actually been fermenting for about a week and a half. So those bubbles are the CO2 being released from the yeast activating and eating the sugar from the malt. And while it's doing that, it's also producing alcohol. And what you have now after 2 weeks is beer. It's a flat beer, however, it is beer. The final step in the process would be carbonation and bottling. Unfortunately, we'll hold that one for another lecture. So I have a good friend that actually is a brewmaster that is in Columbus, Ohio, named Dan Cochran. And he's told me that beer making is the most rewarding hobby that allows you and your friends to enjoy in your finished product. Meaning, you get to drink the fruits of your labor. So from mixing and boiling to chilling and fermenting, homemade beer is a simple process that anyone can do. And remember, as falsely attributed to Ben Franklin, beer is living proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Thank you.